Hi everybody, welcome back to another update video. So this video is going to be a support raising call, and the purpose of that is because I'm about ready to head back to Kona very soon. And so in this video, I'm just going to be kind of laying out what I'm going to be doing in Kona, the value of your support, and I hope that after you watch the video, you will prayerfully consider whether or not you should support or not. So like I said, I'm heading back to Kona in just a few weeks. January 4th, Abby and I are going to fly over there, and we're going to be part of the very last Fire and Fragrance DTS that's going to be happening in Kona, and I'm very excited about that. And I'm joining the staff team just as a room staff for this last DTS, and then after that, for about 3 months, I'm going to serve the campus until debrief happens and is over, and then we'll come home. And while I'm staffing the DTS, Abby's going to be joining the Life Bearers ministry that's happening there, and she's going to be helping to pioneer a new cafe that exists to help women come and work there and gain new life skills. So I'd love to kind of just speak into a little bit about why we're doing this and what God has called us into and how this is the direction we found ourselves going this time around, and just kind of lay that out for you guys. So I'm currently not in Norway like I thought I would be. I'm not doing the leadership track this time around because Abby and I just got engaged, which is super awesome, and we're so happy and so excited. But I did still want to be part of the Fire and Fragrance community, and while I was away in North Africa, we got the news that Fire and Fragrance is going to be ending in Kona. Now it's going to keep going in the other locations around the world, but in Kona it's going to be the very last one. And so I knew that I still wanted to be part of what's going on there and be part of this very last school because God called me to be part of the Fire and Fragrance community while I was on my outreach in the Philippines. So I talked to my leaders and I said, hey, I know I'm not out there doing leadership track and I don't really have the heart to lead another team this time around, but I still want to come and be part of this last school. So what can you really do for me? And he said, yeah, of course you can come back just as room staff to help with discipleship and everything like that, and kind of have a more laid back role in the school as we're planning our wedding and as we're doing our very first season together as an engaged couple. And so it's kind of a more laid back role, but it's still, super important. And so I want to lay that out as well. So as you guys know, for the last couple of years, I've been staffing the DTS out there as a team leader, leading teams to both South Africa and then this last time around Senegal. And so this third time around, I'm not going to be doing that. But so I felt called to serve the Fire and Fragrance community in that way as a team leader. And part of being a team leader is also being a room staff during the DTS. And honestly, that's my favorite part, even more so than traveling to these crazy nations and doing the work. One of the most rewarding things is the discipleship that happens, just in the room with a bunch of dudes. And so the reason that this excites me so much is because every time around that I've done this, it's always been one of the greatest joys to take on a group of guys, seeing dudes who come in not really knowing where they're at with their faith, and leaving as just the most fiery, passionate, on fire missionaries, evangelists, and preachers that are on the planet. And so that's why it's so exciting. I love taking on these guys, becoming good friends with them, having these times of intimacy and learning and growing and experiencing God together, even outside of the classroom, outside of all the lectures, when we're alone in the room together, or, even if it is during class or after hours, like going spearfishing or down to Coconut Grove or whatever it may be. And so along with discipling these guys, I'm also going to have some other campus roles that I'm not quite too sure what they are yet, probably on their media team, and honestly, in really any other way that they would have me serve. So for the 3 months of lecture, that's what I'll be doing, is taking on this group of guys, discipling them, walking with them through their DTS experience, and really just training these dudes up to be some on-fire, crazy missionaries. So then after these guys go on outreach, I'll be still staying on campus with Abby, and I'm going to be entering into some sort of role of campus, servanthood. And so I think that'll probably be with their maintenance team. It's just a really nice way that you can give back to the campus, fixing stuff up, whatever gets broken, and just being a full-time worker for them, serving them as the students are on outreach. I'll still be in Kona offering support to any of these guys, or if there's anything that I can do as, somebody who's in Kona for the staff or the students that are out abroad, doing their outreach, that'll kind of be what I'm doing until they come back for debrief, which will, finish the whole 6 months of the DTS fully. So before I get into what the actual need is and what Abby and I are asking for to fulfill our financial commitments and live in Kona, I'd first like to just kind of detail a little bit about how we got to this place and why God called us to do this. So, as I mentioned earlier, when I was on my DTS outreach to the Philippines, I had an angelic encounter where the angel said, "You need to go and staff the FNF DTS in Kona 2024," which was, the first year that I led to South Africa. And I always thought, man, I would never be a staff. Like, I don't really even know how I feel about this whole DTS experience. But, out of, being obedient to what God had, called me to do, I went and I did that. And it turned me around and made me realize the calling that I have towards the FNF community, but also within discipleship as well. So as I've kind of been progressing in my missionary career, especially, lately, I've realized, wow, I really feel like the fire and fragrance community is, my community. These are my people. This is who I want to roll with for a long time. And so while I was away, I was in Tunisia at the time, is when I found out that Fire and Fragrance Kona is going to be ending after this very last school happening in January. And I thought, man, at first I thought that's really sad news. But what I also realized was, well, I'm planning on marrying Abby, and surely God has something new for our relationship when we, become married, whether that's with FNF or somewhere else. But also, I still want to do what the angel told me to do and be a part of the FNF Kona community until, it's over. And so the timing kind of lines up perfectly that it's our last season, before we get married, Abby and I, as an engaged couple, and it's the very last FNF Kona school that's going to be happening. And so it just, made sense to me that clearly this is what God has set up. He's put together like this very last, like, big bang DTS to go out with, and and then set Abby and I up to, get married and enter into something new. And we already have words for what God's going to be calling us to do next. And so even though we're not quite sure what the future holds, what we do know is it will somehow involve a disciple-making movement. It's what we feel called to do, is to make disciples, train young people how to be happy, healthy, passionate, on fire missionaries and followers of Christ, whether that's staff or students or whoever it may be. We know that wherever we find ourselves, wherever God calls us to, it'll be that. And so I think that this whole thing with Kona is just like an absolutely amazing God-ordained opportunity to go focus solely on discipling a group of young guys and the school, setting these guys out for outreach, supporting them from Kona, serving the base, focusing on our engagement, focusing on getting married, and setting us up well for whatever God has us to do next. And so I'm really excited to go take on these guys, take on the school, and be a culture setter within this place and show these guys what it looks like to live a radical life of obedience, of following God and serving Him, radically in the nations. So that's kind of all there is to it. So now for the ask part. So Abby and I are going to be moving out there for 6 months, like I said, and it is very expensive to live in Hawaii, as I'm sure you can imagine, or if you're there already, And so I want to line out very clearly what we're fundraising for, where we're at already, just so you understand, what our goals are. So currently, I do have a monthly support base. I'm only making $750 a month through my monthly support. So the goal is to build that and find people who are willing to support on a monthly basis, or, of course, as always, with a larger one-time donation. And so the ask is that you would consider either joining monthly to support us at least for 6 months while we're out in Kona, or well after as we, find ourselves in other places. Or if you want to support just for this one time, what we really need, I'm looking at the numbers right here, is $9,100 for the 6 months that we're there. And so that just covers our monthly food budget of $250 a month, our insurance, which is going to be probably like $200 for the 6 months. Rent to campus is always $400 a month, so for 6 months. Other base fees, there's always a $500 fee just for leading a room. You take the responsibility and all that. And then there's another anticipated $3,000 just of rough base fees, whatever it may be. If they're going to charge the staff rent, we never know. Or, sorry, not rent. If they're going to charge the staff a fee for the lecture phase, we never know if they're going to do that. And yeah, we also want to try and get a car while we're there, whether that's renting or buying one, for probably like $1,500. And so all those totals, $9,100. And so that's what we're looking to raise. So if you do want to support, again, I have all the links that I'm going to send directly to you if you've been sent this video, or that you'll find in the link of this video if you follow me on YouTube. I have my EquipNet, which again is a tax-deductible way that you can give like a gift to a missionary, and that allows you to set up either a monthly support that is just reoccurring, where you get an email alert every month, or just make a one-time donation. Come January, as I enter into the staff portal again, I will have an official YWAM link that just has all my bills, and you can pay directly towards them. And then, of course, you can always mail me a check or just send it on PayPal. And so with all that stuff out of the way, I just want to thank everybody who does support us, both financially and in prayer. If we're the boots on the ground, we need the air support covering us as we go out there, and that's the prayers of the people who send us. So thank you very much. And yeah, I just ask that, if you don't support us, or even if you do, that you would just prayerfully consider either giving a one-time donation or joining our monthly support team. Because as of right now, we can't afford to do what God has called us to do. And we know that God is Jehovah Jireh, the great provider. And more often than not, he loves to provide for those that he calls into missions through the generosity of those who send them. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for praying for us and for considering supporting us financially. And yeah, we look forward to update you with what's going on in Kona while we're there for the 6 months. And then, yeah, we'll keep in touch and let you know what's going on next as we get married in August 29th. So thank you guys very much. I'll see you later.